Good morning, 8th grade. We're going to start technology, and we kind of want to understand what technology is. So that's kind of the first part of all of our classes, and some of you guys can remember from last year. This is a little bit of review, but it's still probably some of it's fairly new to some of us. So we'll go ahead and start. So technology, guys, we should all remember that it's the practical use of your knowledge to basically satisfy our needs and wants. If we need something, we either buy it. If it doesn't exist, we create it through inventions and innovations. Or if we want something, we go buy it. If it hasn't been created, we invent it. So we're basically trying to make our lives easier. We try to make it more efficient, save time. But one of the cool things is when studying technology, there's plenty of things that we consider being fun. And hopefully you guys have fun this year throughout the class. It is rewarding and very, very exciting. And what I mean by exciting is just imagine the last time you bought, for example, an iPod or a phone or some sort of new toy at Walmart, and your parents said, wait till we get home before you open it. And what do? You get to the car, and it's already opened. You couldn't wait to get the item open, tear the package open, and start playing with it. So yes, it's very exciting. It is fun, and it's really kind of cool when you solve problems using the technology that we're going to be doing this year. So it is rewarding. And last thing I want you to know about technology, the term technologically literate, someone who is informed about it and feels comfortable with it. For example, some of your guys' grandparents would never turn on a computer, or they will never, or maybe it's your great-grandparents. They don't want to use a computer because they're not comfortable with it. So if they're not comfortable with it, they'll probably never use it. So my goal in this class is to create an awareness with you and technology, or make you feel comfortable at least around it, so you're going to be able to use it later in life. Some of you guys never touched a bandsaw before or a drill press. We're going to be using those this year, and the best thing about it is not that you're going to be scared your whole life, but I want you to at least use it one time, so later in life you're like, I've used one of those. I feel pretty comfortable that I could probably do it again. So that's my goal, is to get you comfortable using technology. Okay, so people who contribute to technology, there's a few in mind, but first I want to talk about how everybody can contribute. Think about how you contribute with technology. Well, you're a consumer. You buy it. You use it. Your parents use it. Everybody in the industry of, for example, teaching uses technology. Every place around has some form of technology, and they use it. They also turn in surveys to let the companies know what needs to be improved and how they can change it to make it better. So we all play a small part in creating this new technology. Scientists, well, this is kind of where it all starts. The science explains how things happen. They explain the world around us, how it works. For example, wood comes from trees. How do we know this? Well, the scientists tell us all this. Scientists tell us that trees grow, and out of the tree we can use the wood inside of it for structures. They say it's a dense material. Once you cut it down, it dries. So scientists tells us we can use and how things work around all the products. Then we have our engineers. They're the people who use math and science to design products so they're safe. Okay, so they decide the materials being used. For example, the scientists told us that the wood is a hard material. The engineer is going to go through and make sure and test the wood to make sure it's going to withhold some of the weight that is being applied to it. For example, we can use wood for houses. The engineers determined that the wood will hold all of the weight of the shingles, the rain, the snow, everything else that falls on top of it. So the engineers are those who design products to be safe. If you think about the example of a chair, or your desk that you're sitting at, or wherever you're at, just think of standing on something in your room. For example, a kitchen table. If you stand on it, was it designed to be stood on? Probably not. It was designed to eat on. However, engineers have to go around and figure out if it's going to be safe in all scenarios. Because the first time someone sat on it or stood on it they're not supposed to, but they did, and it falls through, there's a big problem. So engineers make sure things are going to be safe. We have technologists. These people are the ones who specialize in technology. For example, you have electricians, plumbers, carpenters, you name it. There's a ton of people who specialize using the technology. And then you have the people skilled in the techniques in a particular field. These are technicians. So technicians are skilled in what they do. I think I just got that all mixed up. Technicians are your electricians, your plumbers, and so on. The technologist is the person who specializes in it, which means that, if you think about it, you are right now studying technology, so I'm training you to specialize in the field of technology. So if you think about Mr. Aiken and myself, we are people who specialize in technology. We don't go out and do all the work. Now, Mr. Aiken, he does a lot of carpentry and auto mechanics, so therefore he can be both technician and technologist. Whereas I go through and I do a lot of graphics, so I'm actually skilled in graphical communication, and so I can also be skilled mechanic or technician in the graphic field as well. Now, I want to go through the areas of technology. There's plenty of areas. We try to condense them. Production technology, we have this in high school also. And we're going to go through both of these categories, hopefully get through all of it. But production technology is producing a product. Okay, we're going to fabricate a product or structure. If you think about the two, there's construction and manufacturing. The only difference is a construction is built on a site. Manufacturing's built in a building. Okay, it doesn't have to be homes. Okay, if you think about construction, we do a lot of that is building buildings and roads and malls and convenience stores and etc. Manufacturing is typically products. For example, your pens, pencils, your beds, shoes, cars. Now, you can have manufactured homes, which they're built in a building called a factory. Okay, so that's why all of this is under production, because basically all you're doing is building a product. And in this case, a house could be the product. Okay, now the next section is transportation. Getting some product from point A to point B. Moving some goods from one place to another is transportation technology. You can think about all the ways to transport things. First, you look at humans. How do you transport humans? You got cars, bikes, planes, trains, boats, etc. Now we can also transport water. Let's think about transporting water. Does it have to be through a car? The answer is probably no. We can transport it through pipes. We can transport it buckets, All these are different ways to transport goods from point A to point B. So it doesn't have to be just vehicles and people. So there's a lot of different ways to transport things. It also goes along with the power and energy technology is creating power from different sources. For example, solar power, wind generators and wind power, water with hydroelectric. There's all kinds of different forms of energies and powers that we can use, and in this section you'll go over those. Now getting to the last couple, this one's my favorite because I teach this in the high school. Communication technology is transferring messages from one person or thing to another person or thing. I'm going to back up a little bit. So on communication tech, think of the examples of getting a message to someone. Most of you are familiar with using a cell phone. You take a cell phone and you send a message via text messaging or email. We use the internet. Think of billboards. When you see a sign for McDonald's that has the crunchy French fries on the picture, it's sending a message to you. Maybe a good message, maybe not so good message. But it is sending a message to you saying, hey, come eat my fries. There's also trailers that have big pictures on the side of them. Your t-shirts, signs in the yard, you name it. Anything that has photos, pictures, text, and it tells a message is going to be considered communication technology. Radio and television, we'll throw that in there as well. Okay, as I got before, I went a little early. Biotechnology. Basically, this is a genetic engineering, taking products and making them better by altering the genetics of the product. There's a ton of farming going on right now in the United States, and we use genetic engineering for most of the crops in the seed form, so whenever the seed blooms, comes out of the ground, it is a much sturdier plant that can withhold all the water or all the sun and hopefully produce a better product in the long run. Okay, and one of the last ones we want to go over is nanotechnology, because I want you to know the term. We can't really go over it here in class besides just talk about it because it's so small that we cannot see most of the things that are going on. But working with atoms, working with molecules, very, very small little items that you're working with, and nanotechnology is the main reason why computers are getting so small, so powerful, and your cell phones are getting so powerful. Is because of nanotechnology and creating small computers that you can barely see. Okay, last thing before we quit for today, think about how technology affects society. Okay, how does it affect society? Well, think about the car. It puts pollution out. So does it affect society? You bet. It's putting pollutants in the air. Okay, what about cell phones and texting and driving? Technology affects us many, many ways, good and bad. I've been focused on the bad stuff. Texting and driving is the leading cause of death in the vehicle. That's a sad statement. Now, when we think about the cell phone, it's also one of the best things that has been invented, because you can get a hold of anybody you want at any time, any place, through the internet, through email, through texting, or just simply call someone. Now, that's a very powerful tool. Okay. Now, how does society affect technology? Again, it's the same thing. For example, if someone takes technology and uses it for mass destruction, society starts changing. Okay, the technology will change to help those causes. For example, if you notice all the airports, we do not have the freedom to do what we used to do in an airport. We're pretty much stripped down to the bare essentials on flying. And technology has changed around that. Look at the car. The car technology has changed because of our not so smart choices when we get behind the wheel and we're texting. So if you look at the car now, the technology is changing tremendously to try to keep people from doing that. And they put the where the car talks to you now. They're trying to do a lot of hands-free things to get your mind and your hands off the cell phone. So this concludes 8th grade Why We Study Technology. Thank you and have a great day.